Hello everyone, this is Eli G. Brown / Eli G. Brony, and here is another fan-created canon character. This is Darkness. He is a Dark Hunter that came from the original Bionicle generation. I found instructions on how to build this online, and if I remember to, I will see if I can provide them in the description so that you can also, build this too if you wish to. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what is said in the book, but as far as I know, Darkness is a Dark Hunter that apparently watches the Shadowed One, the main Dark Hunter of the original saga. Now, Darkness was a model that was created by Richard Glover for some sort of contest, and this was a character that was accepted into canon. I don't know if Richard was the one that came up with like who Darkness was, or if he was just someone who created the model, the MOC, and then Lego officially gave this character a background. It was probably Lego that gave the character a bit of background, and it was just like the fans just make a custom Bionicle creation and they send it in, and then Lego decides onto who or what the creation is. So in this case, Darkness, this model right here, became Darkness, a Dark Hunter. Now, this MOC actually is not very stable, because, for one thing, the arms are kind of loose right there, because, these old arms, old Roxy arms, they're not very reliable. I tried switching out different pieces to see which one was more sturdy, but they all turned out like this, so this is pretty much all that I can go for. Don't bother trying to tell me to just get new pieces that are probably more sturdy, even if they are new, and the likely thing is, after all this time, I doubt that there are any of these pieces in the new condition, so this is what I have to work with. And plus, I did have these pieces, so may as well put them into use. So he's not the best character for poses, and his posability is pretty much limited. Though, maybe as some sort of solution to this whole issue, I may put in those add-on connector pieces that were introduced in the character and creature building system parts that was introduced with Hero Factory and is being used in the modern Bionicle generation. May put those on right there. May not look like the best, but hey, at least he'll have some stability in him. The legs are kind of awkward too. I did also have to improvise a bit because, based on the instructions that I saw, if I used the original ball cut pieces, the ones that were used on Tahu and Liwa and Kopaka, as well as Pohatu, those kind of pieces were a bit loose, especially the older ones. So I had to go with the ball pieces that had the hole going through them, and then putting the half-size bushing onto there, as well as also using a 6 long size axle piece instead of 5 long size, so the half-size bushings could get onto there. And I'm gonna basically rather than just give how the model worked. Actually, I should tell you about how my particular model of the character worked. I used both the old gray and new gray pieces because, the old gray pieces, if they're still in your parts bin, you shouldn't throw them out. You should use them for whatever you can. And besides, there are some pieces in the old gray that do not exist in the new gray. Like, for example, the Pohatu arms and the upper Roxy leg pieces and the hooks right here. They're only available in the old gray. They never existed in the new gray. So it's pretty much combining old gray and new gray together. Know that there are some people that think that the old gray just is not very useful anymore or reliable anymore since it is outdated. But if you still have those pieces, you really should put some sort of use to them instead of just throwing them out into the trash. But if you do think that these pieces are useful, or if you do think that these pieces are not useful and you do not want them, the better solution is to just sell them to people who do want them. Because one person's trash is another person's treasure. And that's pretty much the case with the old gray pieces. I mean, they may be trash to you, but to somebody else, they may be a treasure. If you're asking me why I am explaining this, well, I remember watching a video that Jane Bricks made a long while ago where he explained about getting rid of the old gray pieces and that he was throwing them out. I kind of thought for a while that he was actually selling them or something, but then later I just heard in another video that he was throwing them in the trash. But anyway. Now, for the overall thoughts on this, actually there's still more to talk about with simply building the thing. I used some of the broken ball cup pieces, the ones that had, this axle hole through them broken. I used them in the upper Roxy leg pieces because they were still useful in that case. And I needed to come up with some use for them. I didn't want them to, just stay in the parts drawer forever. Just wanted to put some sort of good use to them, and that's what I did here. Now, for my overall thoughts on this particular model, just on the creation, on the whole, I kind of think it's actually. I was going to say it kind of looks awkward, but it's awkward in a good way. But I've had to buy more of these light staff pieces because I didn't have enough of them in my parts drawer, so now I pretty much have too many of those pieces. But hopefully I won't need to buy any more of those. These are hopefully the last ones that I will ever buy. And, so that's good. Most of these staff pieces I got off as new, but there was one that came off as old, which is this one up here. It has some teeth marks and some biting on it, but that's not really that big of a deal right there, because I've received parts with little minor bites on them before, without warning from the seller, but I'm not complaining. I mean, the seller probably didn't know, so I'm just gonna let them off easy with that. And, the funny thing is using the Toa Metru heads as the as part of the feet, and putting in the gray golly hooks for like back claws or something. There was also this other piece that was put inside the eye socket on the head pieces. Those were suggested by the instructions, and I'm very glad that I put them in because otherwise the hooks would be kind of loose. I'm gonna try to lift this thing up. They're not so loose now thanks to those pieces, but otherwise they would be very loose. Then getting on with the tail, which is partially the reason why this thing is still standing. The whole thing with the claw right here. The claw is actually... Oh, I thought the claw was actually slightly loose but it does fit well, and it's not going to fall out unintentionally if I don't want it to, which is a good thing, because that's kind of a disadvantage of using these pieces, where they seem slightly loose when you put them together, but they won't come apart all that easily, which is kind of something that I'm concerned about with making these figures these days, where something just feels slightly loose. Kind of had the same problem in the days when old Bionicle was around, where sometimes the Bohrok's arms would kind of flop about when I didn't want them to, because they were kind of loose. For the head, let me make sure that you can see it, or actually adjust the camera a bit, so... Okay. Now the head right here, now, from a perspective, from a model, from a actual figure, this is indeed the Mask of Shadows that was worn by Makuta, the original version that came out in 2003. However, in the story, there was only one Mask of Shadows. That was the one that Makuta wore. And it later went on to another Makuta I don't know the name of too, but I'm pretty sure somebody in the audience will know. And, well, it was the only one of its kind, so this would pretty much mean that, this right here is probably, like, maybe just a different mask that looks like the Mask of Shadows, or maybe that's his face, maybe? I don't know, but anyway, in canon, that's actually not the Mask of Shadows. It was just the way that Richard Glover made him. So pretty much the reason why he wears the Mask of Shadows is just because Richard made him like that. It's not supposed to be the Mask of Shadows in the story, it's just how the model turned out to be. Maybe we'll get an explanation someday. Actually, maybe we won't get an explanation for why it looks like that. Probably just by coincidence within the story. I really do not know for sure, because there are actually a lot of things from Bionicle that I am not aware of, or anyone is aware of, but that's just how it is. So, any explanation for why it looks like the Mask of Shadows? I have got none. Something that I really don't get about this is that, well, this is a character that is mostly black and gray. But there is some silver here too. Not a lot of it, but some. That would be on the claw and the tail and these pieces, all around there. But there is also the back right here. And a couple of reasons that I kind of find this awkward is, well, this piece is actually supposed to keep the head down, well, keep the head still. And, well, there's this extra pinhole right there. Probably could have just used a different piece for that rather than just using what the instructions told me to use. But I just wanted to do exactly what the instructions said. And I probably think that that's about it for this one. It was pretty much a challenge to make yet another creation that was made for a contest, since there were instructions out there. Someone had made instructions. I don't know if the person that provided the instructions was actually Richard himself, or if another fan just saw him and just made his own, as close as he could, replica to what was shown in the Dark Hunter's book. But there you have it. That is Darkness. That is a Dark Hunter from Generation 1 of Bionicle. So that's about it. Probably might be the last contest model that I'm going to try to create, unless I can find instructions for another model. Though looking through the book, I don't really see any Dark Hunters that look all that good, except there is one called Guardian, which uses the trans red cow. But the issue with that is that, well, in the book it says he is active, but this book is actually outdated. because I read that he's actually dead now. So that's about it. If I talk any further, the video is going to go over the time limit of 15 minutes. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again.